Eden was now behind them, and with it, the innocence of mankind's first breath. Sin didn't just cast them out of a garden. It threw them into the pain of sowing, of childbirth, of survival, and worse, into the burden of raising children with no map to good or evil, only the weight of knowing that failure now lived inside them. This is the story of the first murder, but also of a heart that turned to stone for not knowing how to love. Adam and Eve left the garden with nothing but their bodies and a promise. East of Eden, the land was hard. Just stones, trees, and a broken hope. Yet, they dug. They planted. They learned to wait for rain. And one day, Eve trembled, held her belly, and gave birth. With the help of the Lord, she said, I have brought forth a man. They named him Cain, their firstborn, their strength, their pride. Soon after, another cry echoed through their tent, Abel. Cain was strong-willed, grounded in the soil. Abel was still watchful, in tune with the sky. Cain became a farmer, Abel a shepherd. Adam taught them what he knew, how to build a fire, how to read the sky before planting, how to care for a lamb as if it were part of the family. They were both sons of Adam, born from the same love, but the choices in their hearts would lead them down different paths. And in that simple, rugged life, worship was born. Because though they could not return to Eden, they could still seek God. One day, they both brought an offering to the Lord. It wasn't tradition. It was instinct. Cain brought fruits of the land, grains, figs, roots. Abel brought the best of his flock, a firstborn lamb. They built altars. They lit the fire. But only one was accepted. Fire came down and consumed Abel's gift, while Cain's remained untouched. No one said a word. Only the smoke spoke. And Cain's heart burned hotter than his altar ever could. God saw his face twisted with rage, and he spoke, Why are you angry? Why is your face downcast? If you do what is right, will you not be accepted? But if you do not, sin is crouching at your door. It desires to have you, but you must master it. God never looks only at what our hands bring, but at the spirit in which we give. The heart speaks louder than the gift. But Cain didn't listen. He didn't understand that it wasn't about what he gave, but how he gave it. His offering lacked love, it was duty, and his pride couldn't handle correction. Sin waits in silence, just outside the door of our soul, but you still have the power to rise above it. One morning, Cain called to his brother, Let's go out to the field. Abel followed, unaware. How could he suspect anything? He was his brother, his blood. But there, among the wheat, the silence was broken by a cry. Cain rose up against Abel and struck him down. The earth drank its first blood. From the silent earth, the blood cried out because no act of violence goes unnoticed by the eyes of justice. God spoke again. "Where is your brother Abel?" And Cain answered, I don't know. Am I my brother's keeper?" But God didn't ask for information. He asked to confront. "Your brother's blood cries out to me from the ground. Now you are under a curse. The soil will no longer yield its crops to you. You will be a restless wanderer on the earth." Cain collapsed. Even in his guilt, Cain was not left without grace. God marked him not only with judgment, but with mercy that protects. His punishment was too great, but God showed him something he didn't deserve: mercy. He placed a mark on Cain so no one would kill him. Cain left eastward again to a land called Nod. There, he began to build a city. And with him, a humanity was born that walked away from God, but was never out of his sight. He walked away with the weight of his choices. Yet even then, mercy did not abandon him. It followed in quiet steps. Adam and Eve wept like no parents had before. They lost 2 sons in one day. One to death, one to guilt. But time moved forward, and Eve conceived again. She named him Seth. God has granted me another child in place of Abel, because even in loss, God leaves a seed of hope. Loss was not the end, because God, in his tenderness, still breathed new life into the story through the promise of Seth. This story isn't just about the first murder. It's about every conflict left unresolved, every heart that lets envy grow. God didn't reject Cain for what he brought, but because he brought it without love. And when we can't receive correction, we end up destroying what reflects us. Yet even then, God didn't abandon him. He placed a mark, not as punishment, but as warning, as protection, because God's justice never comes without a door back to mercy. The lesson? Yes, we are our brother's keeper, because their pain belongs to us too.